Hare Krishna. We're just going to plug us in.
Right.
Better.
Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 34. The chapter is still Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. We're in the 4 seed verses, and this is the second of the 4 seed verses, which is called a Chatur Shloki.
Chatur Shloki.
All right.
Nice to see you. So we're here in Regent's Park, or not Regent's Park, Russell Square. And it's the first time we've done an outside reading in 3 weeks almost.
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Here, so we're still locked down in the UK, but today is almost like a spring type of day, even though we might not look like it. But compared to the way it's been, they were calling for 11 inches of snow or something, but it's actually quite warm, which means probably tomorrow will plummet in snow. So here we are, reading Srimad Bhagavatam.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Right, text 34. O Brahma, whatever appears, to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Purport. In the previous verse, it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration and its disappearance, all has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called a product of the illusory energy of the Lord. Because nothing can exist without the Lord, it should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relationship with the Lord is called Yoga Maya, or the energy of a union. And the wrong conception of detaching a thing from its relationship with the Lord is called the Lord's Devi Maya or Mahamaya. Both the Mayas also have connections with the Lord, because nothing can exist without being related to Him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false, but illusionary.
Illusory. Yeah, so interesting point here that Yoga Maya and Mahamaya, first of all, nice explanations, but Yoga Maya, the internal illusory potency, and Mahamaya is or Devi Maya, the external illusory energy, that both of them are the Lord's energy, so both are connected to Krishna. So therefore there isn't anything that's disconnected from Krishna. So even if you're in Maya, in the material world, in Mahamaya, under the illusion that, this world is the be-all, end-all, and we're the bodies, even though that's Maya, still it's in connection with Krishna. It's His divine energy. So still it's not disconnected from Krishna. Although it is an illusion. It is illusory, but it doesn't mean it's not real. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that relates back to the verse, right? Because the verse says, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Like that. So, misconceiving one thing for another is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. The rope, as it exists in the front of the illusioned person, is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And the illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being produced out of my energy is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless or that the Supreme Lord is formless is also illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.12, it is said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warriors standing in front of Arjuna himself, and even the Lord had all existed before. They were existing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would all continue to be individual personalities in the future also, even after the annihilation of the present body, and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities, and the personal feature of both the Lord and the living beings are never abolished. Parrots. Only the influence of the illusory energy, the reflection of light in the darkness, can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahma Jyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord. And the same light is reflected in varieties of light: the light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, the light of the electricity. So the identity of the self is being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am the Supreme, is the last illusory snare of the same Maya, or the external energy of the Lord. So we discussed this last time, I think, right? The last snare of Maya is to think oneself to be God, or one to be one with the Supreme. What?
You're looking at the dog.
Over there, that dog. Yeah, it looks scared.
No, it's doing its business, and the kids are running around it.
Trying to do a job, and the man was there with the bag. And it's like Prabhupada said, if you don't serve God, you will serve dog. Everyone has an innate propensity to serve in the material world. It's just there in all of us. We all want to serve in one way or another. So you serve dog by picking up doggy do. Oh, God. Okay.
The Vedanta Sutra in the very beginning affirms that everything is born from the Supreme, and thus, as explained in the previous verse, all individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahma himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord through the agency of Brahma. None of them has any existence without being dovetailed with the Supreme Lord.
Everything's connected to Krishna. That's it. And what is illusion? When we think that something has no connection with Krishna. That's illusion. That's Maya. The independence of the individual living entity is not real independence, but is just the reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Being, the Lord. The false claim of supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion, and this conclusion is admitted in this verse. So if we think that we're independent of God, we can do whatever we like, we can move here, move there, be whoever, it's illusion. We're all parts and parcels of God, and we're all under the dominion of God, whether we like it or not. There you go.
Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned, and therefore the so-called scientists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc., become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. The medical practitioner may deny the existence of the soul in the physiological bodily construction of an individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist even after death. The psychologist makes a serious study of the physiological conditions of the brain, as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind. But in the dead body, the psychologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation or the bodily construction, independent of the Supreme Lord, are different, reflective, intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they are all illusion, nothing more. All such advancement of science and knowledge in the present context of material civilization is but an action of the covering influence of the illusory energy. The illusory energy has two phases of existence, namely the covering influence and the throwing influence. By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance. And by the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person, who enlightened the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahma. The identity of Brahma with the Supreme Lord is never claimed herein. And therefore, such a foolish claim by the man with a poor fund of knowledge is another display of the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita that demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance, and thus such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
I like this. By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance. And by the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person. So the throwing, it's I've often heard more pulling and covering. That the role of the illusory energy is to pull us down and cover us over, or to throw us or cast us into darkness, into ignorance. The sane man, however, is enlightened in the disciplic succession from Brahmaji, who was personally instructed by the Lord, or in the disciplic succession from Arjuna, who was personally instructed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. He accepts this statement of the Lord, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mata sarvam prabhartate, iti matva bhajanti mam buddhabhava samambitaha, which just by the way happens to be the first of the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The same man who knows this is actually learned, and therefore he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord.
Although the reflectory energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of persons with a poor fund of knowledge, the same person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by his different energies. Just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. In the medical science of the ancient sages known as the Ayurveda, there is definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words: Jagat yone anishchasya chid anandaika rupina pumsosti prakrite nitya pratichayeva basvata chaitanapi chaitanya yogena paramatmana akarod vishvam akilam anityam nata kakritim. There is one Supreme Person who is a progenitor of this cosmic manifestation, and whose energy acts as Prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord, and the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of Prakriti, while the same person knows Prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, para prakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, apara prakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the fire and the heat. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. This simple thing is not understood by the man with a poor fund of knowledge, who falsely claims that the fire and the heat are the same. This energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living energy represented by the living entities in the reflection of the Lord, and never the Lord himself, being the reflection of the Lord, the existence of the living entity is dependent on the Supreme Lord, who is the original light. This material energy may be compared to darkness, as actually it is darkness, and the activities of the living entities in the darkness are reflections of the original light. The Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya, or illusion. No one can make a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light. That's a nice phrase.
So explain it. No one can make
a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light.
What does that mean to you? What?
That's too esoteric to explain.
Why'd you find it so funny?
Similarly, no one can come out of material existence simply by the reflected light of the common man. One has to receive the light from the original light itself. The reflection of sunlight in the darkness is unable to drive out the darkness, but the sunlight outside the reflection can drive out the darkness completely. In darkness, no one can see the things in a room. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions. Although there may not be such things. But in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Not really, because you still get scared if you see them, but, it's better to see them than not see them. Therefore, one has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities who have no touch with the Lord. No one should hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a person who does not believe in the existence of the Lord. Such a person is already doomed, and any association with such a doomed person makes the associator also doomed.
So, your reflection? But just remember, your reflection can't bring me out of the darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
Only the pure light.
It means you don't make things up and you don't speculate and assume. But it says here, like the sunlight, if it's reflected in a room, it doesn't do anything. But if the actual sunlight comes in the room, it brightens up the room and you can feel a bit warm and safe, like that. So in the same way, we may be reading from these books or thinking, but we have to hear from the right source. Otherwise, it's just like shining a torch with no bulb. It doesn't help anyone.
Well, yeah, it's not quite like shining a torch with no bulb. It means like if you're in a room and I take the sunlight on a mirror and I reflect it into a room, I mean, it creates some light, that's for sure.
But it's false.
Yes, that's true. It's not the real original light.
So like Prabhupada says, you don't feel the benefits of the actual sun rays.
Yeah, you probably don't feel... You get light, but you don't get heat.
Right.
Okay, interesting. According to the Padma Purana, within the material compass, there are innumerable material universes, and all of them are full of darkness. Any living being beginning from the Brahmas, where there are innumerable Brahmas and innumerable universes, to the insignificant ant are all born in darkness, and they require factual light from the Lord to see him directly, just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun. No lamp or man-made torchlight, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. The sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of different energies of the Lord, or the personality of God in himself, can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God, and not by the man-made speculations. Here this light is specifically mentioned as vidyat, which is an order by the Lord to Brahma. This direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy, and this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. Not only Brahma, but anyone who may be graced by the Lord to see such merciful, direct internal energy can also realize the personality of Godhead without any mental speculation. What did you get out of that?
That you have to rely on the Lord to fully reveal himself.
Okay.
Otherwise you can't force it.
Okay. All right, so maybe we stop there,
Yeah.
because the next one's going to have a long purport also.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call it a day. Verse up next is verse 3, yes? Yeah. Up
Whoa.
next would be verse 3.
35.
Yes, text 35.
You confuse
the ninth
everyone.
chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
But the third verse of the 4 seed verses.
Which are called?
Chaturshloki.
Okay, thank you all very much. Just a reminder, if anyone is interested in any sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, any specific, if you like copies of the first canto or second canto, part 1, then we're happy to sort it out for you. Please let us know. Meanwhile, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Adios. Hare
Hare
Krishna.